Here is the key for the respiratory WebQuest for Monday. Here are the answers for the respiratory structures if you want to pause and check yours with mine. Some of these were on both, so as long as you have it on one or the other, that is totally cool. Just remember again, when you're looking at a patient, it's their left and their right. So this is actually the right lung, this is the left lung with the cardiac notch. Okay, and then part two, the alveoli and gas exchange. So what are the bronchioles? They're the very end of the branch bronchi, kind of like on a tree. They are the very end, like the twigs of a tree. The alveoli are tiny air sacs at the end of the bronchi. This is where gas exchange happens, which is when oxygen goes into the bloodstream and carbon dioxide is removed from the bloodstream. How are your respiratory and lymphatic systems connected? Lymph nodes and lymphatic vessels intertwine in the lungs. The lymphatic vessels carry pathogens and potentially cancerous cells away from your lungs in the lymph, which is kind of like the blood of the lymphatic system. And lymph nodes filter this material out of your lymph. The video explaining gas exchange. So how does the concentration gradient aid in the diffusion of gases? So a little bit of chemistry here. So concentration gradient, meaning that in diffusion, which is the movement of particles from high to low concentration, this does not require any energy. Particles will always move from high to low concentration. When you go with the concentration gradient, you're going from low to high. If you're going against the concentration gradient, it is, with the concentration gradient is high to low. Against the concentration gradient is low to high concentration. So oxygen diffuses freely across the cell membrane because it moves with the concentration gradient, high to low concentration. Gases want to move from high to low concentration naturally. This occurs without energy or without the aid of surface proteins. So if you're in AP Bio, you might have learned about different types of cell transport, so moving particles from one side to the other. Some types of transport require proteins because you're moving against the concentration gradient, or because particles are either too big or have charge and will not pass freely. Same thing with gases. Gases are small enough where they will diffuse freely and they will naturally go from high to low concentration. Okay, the 5 important features of the alveoli. So large surface area, the larger the surface area, the more area for gas exchange to happen, which means gas exchange is more efficient. The lining of the alveoli is very, very thin, so this is good because it's a short diffusion pathway. It's only one cell thick, so the gases don't have far to travel from one side to the other. They are moist, I hate that word, which means that they allow gases to dissolve and diffuse across the lining freely. They have a good supply of blood. Each one of the alveoli has its own little capillary network. We didn't talk a lot about capillaries during the cardiovascular system just because we were short on time. So basically in your body you have arteries, you have veins, and you have capillaries. And when arteries become smaller, they're called arterioles. When veins become smaller, they're called venules. And then capillaries are the smallest blood vessel in your body. Super, super tiny. So each alveoli has its own capillary network that supplies it with a blood supply. And then the last one, good ventilation. So this just means it's good. You're getting a constant supply of air to your lungs, unless you have some sort of respiratory distress, which we will talk about later this week. All right, let me know if you still have questions after this.